Hi everyone, this is Margaret Manning with 60 and Me. This is the place where women over 60 come to be inspired. My guest tonight is Nancy Parode. Nancy is a travel expert and she covers travel for boomers and seniors on about.com. Hi Nancy, welcome to the show.
Hi, it's great to be here.
It's really good to have you here. I always love chatting with you because I'm passionate about travel and so are you.
Absolutely.
So I have a question for you. Older women in our 60 and Me community are looking for different ways to travel in their retirement. And, we always want to put some purpose behind what we do. We're kind of redefining ourselves in this time of our life. And one of the things that people are thinking about doing are these volunteer vacations. Mm-hmm. Now, I know there's some conditions around them and there's some things you need to be aware of. So I'd love to talk to you about it since you're an expert in that area. And just tell us a bit about them, first of all. What is a volunteer vacation?
Well, a volunteer vacation is a trip in which you mainly go to help people in another community, and that could be somewhere in your own country or far, far from home on the other side of the earth. Oftentimes, they're organized by nonprofit institutions so that you have a way to get there and housing once you get there and meals organized for you. And then you devote the bulk of your day usually to working in the local community on a wide variety of projects. And then usually there's either a free day or some free time in the afternoon so that you can do a little bit of exploring on your own or with other people in your volunteer group.
And how long do they normally last? I mean, are they, weeks, or do you have to make a commitment for a month or so?
You can do it almost any way you want to. You can do a single day experience if you have something close by. Oftentimes a week is a typical program, or 2 weeks. People who really want to get invested in a particular community can go for longer, either by putting week-long trips back to back or by negotiating like a month-long stay with the institution that they want to work with. It's really kind of up to you.
Okay, so inspire us. Give us an example of a volunteer vacation that you think people might be interested in, women over 60.
Well, one of the things about Habitat for Humanity, one of my favorite volunteer organizations, is that you can pretty much arrange any kind of volunteer experience that you want. Habitat for Humanity works around the world building affordable housing for people and also educating the new homeowners, because they buy these homes, on financial responsibility along the way. And so you can work on it. They call them build the building projects. They are either building new homes or repairing existing homes. You can do that in the United States. You can do that in Europe. You can do it farther away. You can do that with an organized group such as a church group. One of the really neat things about Habitat is that they also have women-only builds. So if you want to meet like-minded women who are interested in helping others, that's a really great way to do it. You don't have to have any home building skills. They show you what to do, and you really don't have to do things like install electrical wiring. They give you projects that are appropriate. If working on a home is too difficult for you because of health issues that you might have, you can still volunteer with them. You can work in their offices, or perhaps you have a skill you could use in a training program to help them. So whatever kind of thing you would like to do, Habitat probably has an opportunity, including world travel.
No, that's really great. I mean, I wasn't familiar with Habitat Humanity outside of the United States. I thought it was just a U.S. based, but it's great to know that it's global. And one thing you said, which was very important, is that you should always never underestimate yourself. That a skill that you've taken for granted all your life is something that may be really valuable in that kind of circumstance. And I think that volunteer vacations are really more than just giving your time freely. They're really contributing to a need.
Yes, definitely. And if you work with a good program, you can talk with the people who are organizing your trip and make sure that you offer the skills that you have acquired through a lifetime of work and volunteer experience, and they can help match you with the program that's really going to be the best opportunity for you.
Is there a place that you would recommend people go? Is there a website, or it's more like not specific but very broad, like you say, you could put your own preferences in and then find groups?
I haven't found one, but when I was doing research for this article, I just did a web search on volunteer vacations, and you can tag sharks, you really can You can work to restore trails. In the UK, you can do that. You can do that in the US as well. I'm sure you can do that in other places.
Yeah.
So you can do volunteer vacations and then perhaps a destination that you might like to go to or a type of volunteer work that you would like to do, and you will be just overwhelmed with opportunities. Then it's up to you to make sure that the organization that you're looking at is upstanding in its local community and that it
Yeah.
involves local people in organizing the project so that they're not swooping in as the great saviors from elsewhere, but really
Yes.
are putting roots into the community and building on what the community organizers really want to have done
Yeah.
so that they can eventually take that over and do it all for themselves.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Nancy, because I know that's one of the criticisms of these type of volunteer vacations. That they there's some interpretation that they might be taking jobs from local people by having
Hmm.
volunteers from from the United States come in and do those jobs. But I
Hmm.
think what you've said is that you can do research on these organizations to make sure they've got local representation, and like the point is to hand the jobs to them once
Exactly.
once you've given your contribution. One other thing I think there's not a myth, but I wanted to make sure people knew is that there is a cost for these volunteer vacations, isn't there?
Yes, yes, there is. And sometimes it's quite high, depending on the program that you choose and the kind of living circumstances that are offered. Often with a volunteer vacation, your accommodations are, comfortable and adequate, but they're not luxurious. And same with the meals. But you do normally need to pay something to cover the cost of those two things in
Right.
particular. And also if you're working on a project that involves raw materials such as, if it's computer wiring or, information technology, the tech equipment and the
Right.
computers themselves. So that the local community doesn't have to pay for you
Yeah.
to be there.
Would
That
it
you
include?
you put that bill.
Yeah. Would you also have to cover airfare or your travel costs?
Yeah, generally you do.
Uh huh.
It depends a little bit on the program. Sometimes there's, one big amount that you pay and it covers everything. And sometimes you have to arrange that for yourself. Or some organizations can work with you so that you know which, for example, if you were going to Africa, you might not know that much about how the airlines work. And your
Right.
organization can
Right.
probably tell you, because they travel back and forth all the time, which flights are the best ones, which times of year you might be able to save a little money on airfare and those
Right.
all important financial considerations.
Right. Well, I know that this is an issue for people because they want to do good. I mean, we all want to help in whatever way we can. And when we're retired, we perhaps have a little bit more time on our hands, and it's a perfect time to give back. But what if you don't have those thousands of dollars that are needed? What other options are there for volunteer vacations?
Well, I think if people really want to give back and can't afford to go really far from home, then looking in your own backyard is a great
Right.
way to go. There are many,
Yeah.
many organizations, no matter where you live, that are offering opportunities to volunteer for 2 hours, two
Right.
days, 2 weeks. The need is very, very great. And so you might be able to set up a little volunteer staycation where you might stay at home or go someplace where you could stay with a friend that isn't too far away
Exactly.
and do work in any aspect of community service. There are so many opportunities right
Right.
at home.
And I mean, there's home to give some examples. I mean, they're in this article that you've written for us, which is really comprehensive. But there's homeless shelters. You've got
Hmm.
animal rescue.
Hmm.
There's lots of different places. And again, you can just find the thing that is closest to your passion and to the thing you love the best. And I think sometimes being close to home is more nourishing. That you can see the results of your contribution. Right in your own
Hmm.
community.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, this is great. Is there any other advice you'd give? Have we missed anything that's really important about these volunteer holidays?
Well, I think one of the things that is important to remember is that if you want to do something internationally, and a lot of us do, we have a stronger sense of global community than we did
True.
long ago. We have, the internet, we have conversations like this one to
Right.
tie us together. And so if you want to volunteer for some place that isn't close to home, but you can't afford to go there yourself, you might be able to find an organization in your local community that
Right.
can fulfill both of those needs. Where I live, we have a great organization called Kenya Connect. And the purpose of this group is to bring computer technology, books, and other educational materials to schools in a very impoverished area of Kenya. They have all of the directors on the ground in that part of Kenya are from the local community. And
That's
so they
great.
work with the schools on a year-round basis. And the headquarters of Kenya Connect here in Maryland, where I live, their job is to raise awareness and to raise money and to collect books and offer opportunities for people here in Maryland to really give globally. And they organize fundraisers like 5K runs. We have one of those coming up. And then you have the opportunity to, perhaps if you have grandchildren, they could be a pen pal with a student in one of these schools in Kenya, and you can connect with them in that way and see that what you're doing here or what you're doing in your own home really does affect what happens somewhere else in the world and ties us together in a really special way.
And it's not technically a vacation, because you're not putting your feet up and relaxing, and but you're giving, and I think that's important. I think that's at the heart of a volunteer vacation. I actually sponsor a student in India at a school in India, and it's the same thing. I mean, I don't feel like I'm traveling to India, but I feel I have a connection there.
Yes, you do.
And I think that's what really it's all about. So. Well, thank you so much for this information, and I encourage everyone to read the article that Nancy has written on this topic. It's really much more comprehensive than we've covered, and lots of really great suggestions. And you can always reach her at about.com if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
I had a great time.